Welcome to Boston. Good morning, friends. It is day 3 here in Massachusetts. Today we're going to spend more time in Boston. But if you watched the previous video that I spent my time in the South Shore looking for Malasadas, they were all out by the time I got there. And it wasn't even that late of the day. That's how popular they are. So the nice lady at Market Basket said she'd save me some. And so I have to drive about 50 minutes to an hour to Fall River to go grab them. And then after that, we're going to go back up north, take the T into Boston, and we're going to go find, I guess, some good eats. I'm going to try to concentrate myself into the North End, but also because of the nor'easter, we'll try to look at some of the sites I didn't get to see or show you on the first day that I planned to. If you're not familiar, Boston's North End is kind of like a little Italy, although nobody calls it that here. It's just called the North End, but you can find lots of Italian bakeries, Italian restaurants, and other Italian things, pizzas, shops, and it's pretty much more famous for their pizzas and their cannolis. So, you know, a lot of tourists go there to try them. So I'll show you a couple of places up there, and we'll just wing it from there and have an adventure. Okay, so I finally went to Market Basket and got the Massachusetts version of a malasada. And if you didn't see my other video, I spent the whole day on the South Shore, mainly Fall River and New Bedford, and had a wonderful Portuguese breakfast. It is one of the areas with the most Portuguese in the United States. And I did know this already. Sometimes you do find them around like Leonard's in Hawaii, but the malasadas you get here are flat. And it's got powdered sugar on it. And I hope I don't get messy, but they can come in different shapes. We're just used to round balls. Malasada means actually just fried dough. So it can be any shape, it's just a fried dough with sugar on it. So it seems very soft, and I came here right when they opened. And who would have thunk that a Market Basket sells malasadas? So it's actually a little different from Hawaii's version, but it is light. It's not a dense dough. It kind of just melts in your mouth. It's kind of, yeah, it's different from a donut slightly, where it's just really fluffy. Yeah, it's almost reminds me of a beignet, and not as sugary, because the powdered sugar doesn't give off as much sugariness to me as regular sugar. But in a good way, it's not too sweet. It's just so fluffy. You wouldn't think so because it's flat, but it's super fluffy and melts in your mouth. I totally see why these sell out. I'm really glad I came back, because I was going to be very disappointed driving all this way and it sucked, but it really didn't. Honestly, it's just a different shape, but it's amazing. It's not greasy at all for a fried dough. If you're asking me, would this beat Leonard's or Cam Bakery, I would say you can't compare, really. I think, honestly, after spending some time in Portugal, this is probably more authentic. I'm not saying it's better. I just think for our Hawaii malasadas, it's been catered to American taste, I think, after it evolved. The original is probably just as authentic, but when you start putting the creams in there and all that other sweet stuff, yes, it's tasty, but it becomes its own thing. Whereas this just sticks to fried dough, and that's what a malasada is. And I've tried one in Portugal, actually, and yeah, it's not as sweet as Leonard's, so I think our Malasadas in Hawaii has evolved to American taste, which does love sugar. So this, I think, is great. I think it's really great with some coffee. It's just a light breakfast. It looks like a lot of powdered sugar on it, but really it's not too sweet. But you do taste the sweetness, but I think it's just balanced. It's just a light, fluffy dough and a nice morning breakfast that's not too sweet. And like I said, I think it's more authentic in the way that people here still speak Portuguese. You hear it everywhere. And they stick to their roots and culture and their language. Whereas I think, unfortunately, it's lost in Hawaii. Nobody really speaks Portuguese anymore. So, but I'm glad I got to experience some of the Portuguese people here, and they were so friendly. From the lady at Market Basket, she said she was Portuguese as well. And Miguel at New Bedford, and just the people on the street that said hi, which is very rare here. They're just very warm people, and they're very proud of their culture. And if you ask them about it, they're so willing to share it with you. Especially Mr. Miguel, he was so happy that somebody asked about his culture. So I had a wonderful time here in the South Shore, and now let's go to Boston. So right now I'm here at the Quincy Garage, North Quincy. They've got different T garages or parking lots where you can pay by phone for a low fee to park all day to take the subway. And in terms of transportation to Boston, it's one of the easiest and cheapest ways to get around. As a kid in college, I'd often take the T, but the purple line, and then into the red line to the weekends in Boston to just walk around and look at stuff. And it's called the T, which is the subway and commuter rail for Massachusetts, and it's the first and oldest subway system in the United States, and I think it started in 1897. And to give you some of a comparison, the New York City subway opened in 1904. So as a visitor, this mode of transportation is the fastest and cheapest way to travel within Boston and see all the sights. It's organized and very easy to take, and it's super cheap. You can get a prepaid Charlie card from the machines at any subway station to swipe yourself into the station. I'm really old. Back then we used tokens, so this will be my first time using a swipe card. I highly recommend riding the T. It's clean, and especially if it's your first time here visiting in Boston, because it's really cheap to travel, and it's not the typical gridded street type system in Boston. You'll find that if you take the wrong turn, you'll have to go all the way around, or it even takes you into a different town, because I heard that the roads here are not organized and they go all over the place because they were paved over cow paths. And you have to realize that this is one of the very first cities in America. So I think the gridded system was made by Dutch people in New York City in 1807. So they're the only ones that started it, and then the West took off and used the gridded system. Yeah, you might not want to drive here if you're not comfortable, because the drivers here are very aggressive. I'm used to it, but if you've never driven in a big city like that, the subway is the way to go. So to ride the T, you just go to one of these machines. They're at every station, and you can get a ticket to get onto the subway. And it's really easy. They take credit cards and cash. These are the machines, and this is the Charlie ticket that pops out from the bottom once you pay. And then you go to the gates and just scan it. And then the doors will open for you to enter the station. It's super easy, and I got a card for 2 rides for today. And if you get transfers on a different line, it's free. So we're going to go up to the platform. So if you're taking the red line into Boston, this is the stop to get off on for most of the main things to see. It's Park Street Station. So we're going to go up the stairs, and it'll enter into Boston Common. Okay, got off Park Street Station, and that's pretty much the middle of downtown. And Right now I'm in Boston Common. So this is Boston Common. It's a big public park.
Look at the one seed you like, which is Alabama.
And I don't know, they're having a rally here. That is the state house, I guess, or the Capitol. If you see that gold dome, the metal, I read, was actually redone once by Paul Revere's Copper Company. We'll talk about that more later. I'm gonna start off by doing a little tour of the Beacon Hill area, and that's going up there. So I'll get back to you when I get to that side. Here we're coming up to the Bull and Finch pub, otherwise known as Cheers. It is the pub that inspired the TV show. It's very small in there. I wouldn't recommend going there. Maybe just taking a picture. You can look inside for t-shirts, but I'm not going to go in there. It's a tourist trap for sure. Food's expensive, and it ain't that great. So here it is. You can see the sign, and you go down those stairs there to go down there. So anywho, they did not film the show in there at all, which is why I don't really want to go in there. It was a studio, but it's just inspiration of the show. So there's a very small square bar in there, but the rest is a big restaurant that serves mediocre American fare. Look at all these doggies. Everybody's got doggies here. So this is Beacon Hill. It's a neighborhood, very old neighborhood. You can see all the federal type houses, federal style, or federalist. If you're into architecture, you see all these old brick apartment buildings, but these are original apartment buildings from back in the day when the early people of Boston used to live here. And it's an affluent neighborhood, and it's always been. Some parts weren't, though. So it's right above Boston Common and the public garden area that I showed you where I came out of the subway. It's got the old federal-style homes, like I said, the gas light lamps like these. They're very pretty. And the beautiful brick sidewalks. Be careful, though. They're not level, so some have dips, so you might trip. The most popular street here is called Acorn Street. It's the only road in Boston with original cobblestones before the city paved the whole city's roads with asphalt. It's a small lane run by an association that took over the street so that they could preserve the cobblestone street. And people still live there, so if you do come, please be respectful and quiet. It's known to be one of the most photographed streets in America. So I'm going to walk over there. It's a short walk from here, and I'll meet you there. So it's a beautiful day here. Quite a nice contrast to the last 2 days. Actually, the end of yesterday, the last day, started to become beautiful, even though it was cold. But at Plymouth, it was super cold because of the wind. But here in Boston, it's a nice 44 degrees. I thought I'd never say that, but it actually feels very comfortable as long as you have a jacket. And I'm just wearing my Patriots jersey underneath and some jeans. And so yeah, taking a nice walk. Hopefully this is not boring, because I know my channel is about food, but I also like to travel. And if you're going to travel somewhere so far away, it's nice to immerse into the history and culture of that place. And that's what I try to convey when I do travel. So let me flip this again. And you can see, I like how the sign says most of Boston's that way, even the Back Bay. you need a permit to show that you're a resident here to even park on the street. So you're pretty much guaranteed to get a spot. It's not like at home where random people park in your spot and then leave their car there forever. So if you don't have a permit, you will be cited. But here it is, Acorn Street, the most photographed street in America. And you see it says private lane, no trespassing, but everybody comes and takes photos. This is the original cobblestone street. There's some people up there taking photos. Just gonna walk through really quick, but just a quick fact, you can see these small doors. So all these people still live here. But these tiny apartments used to house cooks and coachmen that worked for the wealthy families that lived on Beacon Hill. It used to actually be called Kitchen Street. So they're doing a tour up there. I'm just going to go back down. We're going to head maybe towards the Freedom Trail. I'll show you that. Also, before I leave Beacon Hill, there's also a Black Heritage Trail on Beacon Hill. And it's a trail that has historic homes and businesses and churches and schools from the African American community in Boston that lived here in the 1800s. So if you're interested, you can follow that trail too. Every year, me and my friends in college, we used to sign up for this thing called Walk for Hunger. It's still going on today, and it's a 20-mile walk from Boston all the way through Cambridge. We went through Newton and went back around the Charles River back to Boston Common. And as stupid kids, the only reason we did it was for the free Ben & Jerry's ice cream at the end. But man, your feet killed you. But it was a good time, good exercise, so you get a lot of walking in if you did want to walk around this city. It's pretty walkable. It's nice. The Boston Common's pretty cool. The skyline from the Boston Common shows all the old architecture mixed in with the modern skyscrapers. It's very interesting how it's mixed together. So you'll see a lot of the brick brownstones that have probably been here from the start of the city, and like all the new condos and business buildings such as the Prudential. And it's just an interesting mix of everything, old and new. So we're back here near the State House, and there's a statue right across the street from it, so I'm gonna go take a look at it. So this is the Robert Gould Shaw, I guess, statue. And this was dedicated in 1897, so it's pretty old. Can you believe it? It's still standing here. Yeah, that's a better word for it. Monument. And if you remember, he was portrayed by Matthew Broderick in the movie Glory, one of my favorite movies. And this depicts him leading the first volunteer African-American cavalry, I guess, or army. They were the volunteers for the 54th Massachusetts Regiment. And Shaw died in Fort Wagner, South Carolina, and he's still buried there today. Here's a closer look at the State House. And I'm getting hungry, so let's go look for something to eat. Coming up, we're at the Omni Parker House Hotel. This is where the Boston cream pie was invented in 1856. The Omni Parker House is also famous for their Parker House rolls. The Boston cream pie is actually a cream-filled cake covered in a chocolate coating. And it's called a Boston cream pie because back in the day, pies were also cooked in the same tins. You can dine at their restaurant, but it's quite fancy and expensive because it's a very expensive hotel. I'm not dressed in the right attire for that, so here's a tip. There's a gift shop in the hotel, and it sells mini-size Boston cream pies. Usually they're sold out, so hopefully they're not. And they're smaller servings, so you can taste it. There's a picture of it over there. Okay, so if you're looking for them, they're in the cooler next to the water. So you can get these mini Boston cream pies. Let's go pay for it and taste it. Did you know the Boston cream pie is the official dessert of Massachusetts? When the state was voting for what dessert they were going to pick, they were considering that and the chocolate chip cookie and I think Indian pudding. And it even beat out chocolate chip cookies. Did you know that chocolate chip cookies were invented in Massachusetts as well? So they make some great desserts here. And that's why they're called Toll House cookies, because it was invented in the Toll House Inn. So I have my Boston cream pie here, and it's awesome that they sell it in the little mini pie form. Look at that. It's like a light sponge cake, like white cake, and it's got the cream filling inside and then the chocolate coating, but what makes it great is the slivered almonds on the outside. So you have a mix of that sponge cake, a little bit of cream, and then some chocolatey goodness from the topping, the coating, and then right at the end you get some nuts. How could it be better than this, having Boston cream pie where it was invented at the Parker House? Now off to the next stop. Over here, across the street, right next to the Omni Parker House, is part of the Freedom Trail. I'll show you. And it's the Granary burial ground. Let's see.
You ever seen that movie though? Yeah, I know.
So you can see the entrance to the burying ground, and it houses some pretty famous people in history. And if you can see what I'm talking about, this is the Freedom Trail. It's marked by this red brick, and you just follow it. And it takes you to different sites in Boston. So here it is, the Granary Burial Ground, 1660. So victims of the Boston Massacre are buried here, and some other famous people that I'll hit up. And this is what it looks like, super old. All the cemeteries here in Massachusetts from the olden days, I guess, if they're not recent, are made out of slate, and they're very thin. And, you know, I don't know if it's from erosion, but I mean, it's been here since the 1600s, so if you're a history buff, you must come here. U.S. history, anyway. It houses the graves of important figures in United States history, and about 5,000 people are buried here in this tiny graveyard amongst all these high-rises. Of course, these buildings weren't here before. And obviously, right here, the first thing that stands out, you see the name Franklin, a big obelisk. This is the This is not the grave of Benjamin Franklin. It is the grave of his parents. Benjamin Franklin was from Boston and he moved to Philadelphia. And if you want to see Ben Franklin's grave, he's buried in Philadelphia. So yeah, that's his mom and dad right here in the middle. Here's the famous Paul Revere. So he's got this stone, but he also has this one. So I guess this is his real tomb or his real body. And it has Boston Tea Participant right next to it, the medal. And pretty much he's what you learned in school. He's a famous guy who was actually a silversmith in Boston and was instrumental in the Boston Tea Party. But he was most known for his midnight ride where he warned the people that the British troops were coming. And his role in the Revolutionary War was important. And did you know, as a metal worker, he made many dentist tools, church bells, and other metal goods. And the company he founded, the Revere Copper Company, still runs today in New Bedford and New York. And like I mentioned, they were the company that actually kind of redid the metal on the top of that gold dome of the State House. So you can come here and actually see the grave of Paul Revere. Here's the grave of Peter Faneuil, Faneuil Hall, if that rings a bell. I like this craftsmanship of this knight and the heart and the stars and the cross. That's pretty cool, and it lasted all these years. He died in 1745. Isn't that crazy? You have all these old tombstones, and here's like a fancy office right here with the tombstone right against it. This is somebody important, but I can't tell who. I'm gonna guess maybe Sam Adams or John Hancock. Yeah, John Hancock. So he's the first person to sign the Declaration of Independence in 1776. And it was said that he wanted to sign his name so big so that the King of England could see his name without using his glasses. So that's where the saying comes when somebody asks you for your John Hancock. It means they want your signature. He was also the first governor of Massachusetts. I don't have much time since, like I said, that nor'easter kind of set back a lot of stuff. So I'm not going to walk through this whole thing. But there is somebody called Elizabeth Goose who's buried somewhere in here. And she is rumored to be the inspiration for Mother Goose. She had 20 kids, 10 children and 10 stepchildren, or something like that. And then Thomas Fleet married her, and it was a publisher who published stories and nursery rhymes, although they cannot find any proof of that. Nobody ever has a copy of that book, so maybe it's a myth. Some folks challenge that there was a Mother Goose in Britain way before Elizabeth was born, but who knows if it's true or not. But she's somewhere in here next to Thomas Fleet, but the stones are so hard to see, so I'm not going to take too much time looking for her. All right, so this is the grave of Sam Adams, second cousin of President John Adams, a dominant figure for the start of the Revolution and one of the founding fathers of the United States of America. He was a man that always protested against the British policies and taxes. His rebelliousness provoked the occupation of the British soldiers, which led up to the Boston Massacre and the Boston Tea Party and the Revolution, pretty much the war. So lots of people thought he was a brewer, hence the Sam Adams lager that you see in the stores, but he was actually a maltster. A maltster is a person who grew malt for beer, and his father also did that. And next to him is the 5 people of the Boston Massacre. Okay, so that's pretty much it. There's also Robert Hayne. He's one of the people that signed the Declaration of Independence, but I'm not going to go out of my way to find that guy. And there's a lot of ambulances coming through, and there's a lot of traffic, so everybody's pissed off and beeping at each other. So that's it's just the spirit of Boston. I'm gonna go head to another site and just follow this Freedom Trail, I guess. So yeah, I'm starting to run out of battery on this camera, and I ruined somehow the plug to my microphone thing on the other camera, so if I have to switch to that camera, the audio's not gonna be that great. But this is pretty much the Freedom Trail. It's marked, like I said, by the bricks in the sidewalk, and you follow it on foot from the streets of Boston to the north end. It's quite a long walk. I think it's 2.5 miles, but you don't have to see everything, and it's a great way just to follow the trail so you don't get lost. Just follow the line. Some of the historical stops are obviously that burying ground that I just went to, and Paul Revere's house, the location of the Boston Massacre. Most are free, except for some have a small admission, such as the Paul Revere house. But like I said, most are free, so it's a free thing to do, and it gives you good exercise. So if you're into history and you're on a budget, this is a great way to spend the day. So this is the Boston Public Latin School location, built in 1635, and it's one of the first public schools in America. Just a couple of steps away from the burying ground and right across the street from the Omni Parker House. And it also has Old City Hall on it, but the Boston Public Latin School is still going, but I think it's in a different building because I have a friend named Sam who graduated from there that I went to college with, so that's her alumni. But obviously it has different companies in there, Ruth Chris, and but yeah, this is the original school, but no longer obviously houses schools. And we got some statues here. Here's Ben Franklin. There he is flying a kite. So this whole old building that has this Chipotle is the oldest commercial building in Boston. And I guess it used to be the old corner bookstore. But now Chipotle's in there and another bagel shop and stuff like that. But that's how old these buildings are. If you turn this way, it's the Old South Meeting House right here. So this is the Old South Meeting House. A better picture of it's kind of tall, but it's been here since the early 1700s, where a lot of meetings and sermons were held, and a lot of squabbling over taxes, and what started the Boston Tea Party, I guess, or gave the idea for people, because they started talking about it and getting upset about it. So people got together, exchanged ideas and things, and that's why it's historical. It became a museum. I'm not really going to go in there. Not sure if it's free, but we'll just keep moving on and head north to the north end. So finally made it here, a short walk to the Union Oyster House. I've always wanted to eat here. When I lived here, I was on a college budget and never thought of going into anything fancy like that. It's not that fancy, but it has a lot of history in it because it's one of the, I think it's the oldest operating restaurant in America. So it's been here since 1826 in the same spot and still going. I love these creepy alleyways here. So a lot of history. The bar, the Oyster Bar in the front, is built slanted so that the, I guess, juices could flow down when they shuck your oysters. And it's the original table there. So hopefully we can go inside and get a seat. I'm just gonna try some oysters so I don't get too full. And yeah, I think right next door is the Bell in Hand Tavern before we go in. And it's also one of the oldest bars in America, 1795, right there. Maybe I'll have a couple of oysters and a a pint or something. I don't know.
I don't know if I could have taken.
Thank you. And this is their menu. Lots of seafood, clam chowder, chopped oysters. I think I'm going to get that. It's an oyster house. Why not? Lobster. And, you know, their market price, so it's expensive. Sandwiches. Fried clams. I really like them. Hopefully we can try them tomorrow. But I don't have much time. Tomorrow's my last day. And, fried oysters too. I really want to get everything, but I need to save room for some pizza at the north end. And they've got all kinds of cocktails. There's a JFK booth 18. Guess that's what he liked. And I think I'm going to try a Sam Adams Colonial Ale. It's a Union Oyster House exclusive, so you can't get it anywhere but here. Alright, this is the cornbread they give you. It's got an outside that's kind of crispy, and the inside's moist. And it's very sweet. So if you don't like sweet cornbread, you might not like it, but I like it. And this is the Union Oyster House Sam Adams Colonial Ale. You can only get it here. So refreshing, very smooth actually. I really like it. Awesome for a hot day. It's getting really hot actually. It's still cold outside, but once you start walking, you get very hot. So that's super refreshing. Definitely try this out if you're ever at the Union Oyster House, because it's the only place you can get it. I'm not going to really eat the cornbread, although it tastes really awesome, because I want to save my appetite for other things. I only ordered some oysters and a cup of clam chowder. So this is my quaint little booth. I think they're really cute. And there's also an upstairs section, and I believe upstairs has a booth for JFK. This is the booth he used to always sit at. Okay, I had to change cameras because my battery died, but this is the clam chowder. It smells delicious. I just got a little cup. You can get a big bowl. Lots of big chunks of clam and potato.
Yes, I've been waiting on that.
Very creamy, much better than that Boston chowder company that I had. Although theirs wasn't bad. This one's more creamy and more flavorful. But they both had good amounts of clam in it. They're pretty generous here because there's a lot of clams here in Massachusetts. The oysters came, they look beautiful. If you don't like oysters or raw ones, I'm sorry, but I love them. I squeezed a bit of lemon on them. Gonna go in and dive in. Let me turn the camera. It's a little bit tilted with this new camera. Yum. Didn't add anything except lemon, just to taste the quality of them. They're pretty fresh, very nice. Has that nice salty brine, crisp and clean ocean taste. Let's try these sauces. They give you, looks like horseradish and cocktail sauce, I think. All right, let's put some horseradish on here. I like it. Mix it up. Has a little bit of shell in there, so it's like crunchy, but it doesn't bother me too much. Even though it's known as a tourist trap, I'd highly recommend coming here. The food was awesome, the chowder's awesome, the oysters are fresh. Service was kind of slow though, that's not the greatest service, but It's tolerable. And you can eat in a piece of history, the oldest continuous running restaurant in the U.S., the Union Oyster House. You know what? I take that back about the service. Gotta kind of chat it up a bit with these Bostonians. They're a little bit reserved and they appear snooty, but they're not really. They're just reserved. So my waiter actually was awesome after chatting a bit, and I guess it's kind of like Hawaii. We don't really care for tourists. We're like going into Waikiki, to be honest. But I guess once he found out I went to school here, he opened up a little bit and was awesome. He gave me a little history tablet on the Union Oyster House, and it says it's so old, there are no city records of who built this place. This whole building's that old. And it's been doing business since 1826. And then for more than a century previous to this, the building has been a local landmark. And gave me this postcard of the Union Oyster House. So that's pretty cool. All right, we have entered the north end. You can see the long line for Neptune Oyster, famous for seafood. Look at this line. And the lobster rolls. I believe Epicurean Road went here, but I have no patience for that. Paulie's, you can get a lobster roll here. Maybe I'll come back tomorrow, I'm not sure. Ernesto's, really good pizza for cheap. There's slices of pizza. I believe it's, I don't know the price now, but maybe it's around $7 or $8. But when they say it's a slice, it's 2 slices. But I'm not going to eat there today. I want to go to the original, even though they're good. But this is the North End, known as Boston's Little Italy. But they don't call it that, it's just the North End. And pretty much all Italian food, pastas, pizzas, Italian bakeries, very old school neighborhood. A lot of the people have either passed away or moved away, the original people here. But it used to be a very tight-knit community of Italians. And the funny thing is I haven't had pasta here yet. But it's kind of hard to sit in a fancy restaurant. Most of them look fancy to me by yourself in jeans and a t-shirt.
Sit down for a sec.
So it's kind of hard. Maybe next time I come here with my son in the summer, we'll go eat somewhere with pasta because he loves Italian food. Man, if you could smell the street here, it's amazing. It smells like garlic and like some scampi sauce or something. You can smell the food just walking here. It's delicious smelling. I wish there was smell-o-vision. Up ahead, right there, is famous Bova's Bakery. We're going to get a cannoli from there. And we're going to try to compare with modern and the touristy cannoli from Mike's. Everybody knows Mike's, but most people from Boston say they're very touristy or tourist trappy. But we'll see the difference. Before I get to Bova's, though, it's right here. I'll come back here. I want to eat a pizza from Regina's because it's iconic here in the North End, but here's Bova's Bakery. They're also famous for subs and they're open 24 hours. I'm lucky to be here today or this week because they're going to close down this whole block for a movie with Matt Damon in it, and they're going to feature Bova's in it. So they said you can't come to Bova's when they're filming. So I'm lucky that I'm here at this time. Look at that, all these pastries. Just pizza and cookies, and they got cannolis too. And I love these old buildings. Look at that. Imagine living here back in the day and knowing all your neighbors. Look at the metal work right there with the fire escape. Almost kind of like New York. Right, we're here on Thacher Street for the famous Regina Pizzeria. Well, it's Regina's Pizza here. Regina Pizzerias are in malls, unfortunately. You can see them at the mall food court, but this is the original where you can get pizza. I think they've been open since 1926. I might be wrong. But here it is. It's a little after lunchtime, so usually there's a big line, especially in the summer. But they make pizzas by hand in that oven. So let's check out Boston's best pizza. So the rules are that you have to wait outside for your takeout. So I'm waiting outside. She was okay. It's really crowded in there, actually. I'm surprised there's no line. There are no seats. And I'm just waiting for my pizza slice here at Regina's. Okay, it's hard to find anywhere to eat here. I don't even know if I want to put this on this garbage can here. Let's see, let's eat up these stairs. Maybe I'll get kicked out, but this is the Regina slice. Pretty big slice. And they're famous for their brick oven pizza. So you got that leoparding on the bottom. Nice, beautiful, hot pizza. And no flopping. That's the Boston pizza. If you get it fresh out of the oven anyway. Oh man. Crisp crust, not soggy, in the middle, which is the point where you're eating the first bite. Cheese has some tang to it, which means it's aged, and they claim that they used really good aged cheese, not that store-bought stuff. And look at that crust. The pepperoni's got a good crisp too. But it's not burnt. Nice cheese pull. See if I can put this camera up here. Just sitting on somebody's stairway, probably gonna get kicked out soon, at the north end eating some Regina's Pizza. Can't get better than that. That pepperoni though, it's sliced so thin, so it gets super crispy. Look, it's almost transparent. Or translucent, I'm not sure. Damn though, I dripped some oil on my pants. Now it looks stupid. Look at that. All right, let's find a different place to eat because some dude I was blocking. All right, I actually felt full from eating all that stuff, but it's so good, I think I might finish this. Or eat more than I thought. Such a crispy, delicious crust. Really thin. This is good stuff. Definitely stop here for a slice. And it's awesome that they sell slices. You don't have to buy the whole pizza. I was blown away. I've had Regina Pizza from the mall, but like I said, I didn't get to go to places much in Boston because one, I either didn't have money, I was a poor college student, and two, I didn't venture out too far to the north end, so I didn't go to the original one. But that was amazing. Definitely don't go to the mall. Definitely go to the original. That crisp crust, the nice kind of like char on the bottom of the crust. It's just perfect. No flop, so it's not like undercooked. And And that cheese, and there's a little spice to it. The sauce is perfect. It's not sweet. It's not too acidic. The pepperoni, if you're getting pepperoni, is cut so thin, it's like the oven makes it so nice and crisp, but it's not burnt. It's just perfect. Simple taste, simple ingredients, but taste so good together. And now I got grease all over my pants because it started dripping. So it is a little greasy. I didn't think so, but I guess the grease drips when you start, you know, holding it at a corner. I'm not sure if I even want cannolis now. I'm so full. But since I'm here, I'm thinking, should I come back tomorrow? Because I do have time tomorrow, and I'm coming back to Boston, try other things. Or should I take them home? Because I'm kind of on a time crunch. I need to get back to the South Shore because I'm meeting all my college friends. All of them are coming together, the ones that I keep in touch with. So I don't know what I should do. Well, you know what? I'm going to take them home. Yeah, I'm going to take them home and try them. And on this side, I can smell the pastries. Hanover Street. I can smell the sweetness in the air. No lie. It really, really smells like powdered sugar. All in the air. It's amazing. But yeah, here's the famous Mike's Pastry, and I know you're probably yelling at me like, why don't you just go? But my phone and camera batteries are dying, and I charged them all, but so much to see. It's crazy, but we'll come back again tomorrow. Don't worry. But man, what a nice day it's become. Really nice. Not too hot, not too warm. Still, I think it's 45 degrees. And to me, that's perfect. No wind. The sun is shining, so it actually feels nice. Modern pastry. So they're also famous for their cannolis. Can't see because of the glare. But anyway, not as crowded as Mike's, but also famous. And yeah, that's pretty much the north end. I mean, it's much bigger than what I've shown you, but just a whole bunch of these beautiful apartments and shops. A lot of Italian food. And hey, Ohana Eats recommended this restaurant, Rico. I'm not sure if I'll have time, but I'll try my best tomorrow. I really enjoy the North End. It's much more slow-paced. Lots of culture. And just, I don't know, a lot of history. I mean, look at that sign. Ida's Italian Cuisine. Screams old school. All right. Well, I'm going to head back to Quincy Market just to use the restroom right before I head back to the tea and take it back to Quincy. So I'm here to meet my friends tonight at Barrett's Alehouse. I guess it used to be the Charlie Horse. I totally forgot, but I'm going to meet everybody. Look, Shayna said to come over here at Barrett's Alehouse in West Bridgewater, and if it ain't good, Shayna, it's all on you.
I can say that because I met my husband before.
Say hi, Amy. So this is Amy, my roommate for like 4 years. That's a miracle because...
How long have we known each other?
I'm 20-something.
Or before.
Yeah.
So that was how did we meet?
You were, weren't you an RA? You're not? I don't know. But you told me I need Jesus.
I feel like I was probably the only black person in America before it became mixed, but I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like it. 'Cause remember,
I'm the only Asian. Oh no, I take that back. There are a couple Japanese people that don't speak English.
So when I moved into City Hall, it was all women, and I was on the bottom floor, and that's when I learned.
Right near the door, yeah. When you go into the left.
When you go downstairs, it's past the shower, it's past the bathroom, because I had the roommate that was goth, and she was only in the room with me for like goth.
You had a goth roommate. What a match made in heaven.
He owned a lot of property in Fall River because a lot of the Bordens owned a lot. He owned a lot of property.
Hey guys, check this place out. It is super huge, tons of TVs with sports on it, and it just keeps going all the way back there. And right here we've got some Tom Brady stuff. And we're just chatting till our food comes in. Got some beers, and Suzanne got her drinks. Okay, so we're busy talking. But that's Amy, my roommate for 4 years. Heather, who I was roommates with in freshman year. Miss Suzanne, the only normal. Well, no, you're all normal, but you always tease me. I'm not normal. And then Shayna from yesterday.
Shayna from yesterday.
Yes, Miss Plymouth.
Miss Plymouth.
So they're all from Massachusetts. And we've been friends for a long time.
25 years.
Makes
I'll
us
never
feel.
forget when I met you at orientation, we had this little thing outside in the green, and we were near a bush, and they were like,
A bush?
"Where are you from?" And she goes, "I'm from Hawaii." And I was like, "What is she doing here?"
I don't fucking.
All I remember.
I don't remember that, but okay.
And then we went on that cruise. Remember that cruise?
I did not go on a cruise. What?
Greetings from Mass.
Anyway, but we're gonna talk some more, and so we're just gonna
Bye.
cut it off because you don't want to hear our stories.
You probably do want to hear our stories.